Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Zainab. Welcome back to my daily reading of Nahjul Balagha, which I started reading to you yesterday. It's quite amazing. It's written by Imam Ali, who is of course the fourth rightly guided Caliph of Islam. So yeah, take it or leave it, listen, don't listen, subscribe, unsubscribe, it doesn't matter to me. But I think it would be better for you to stay, and maybe, heaven forbid, you might learn something. This book is unparalleled in terms of its literary genius, as I was saying yesterday. So yesterday I read to you two sermons from this book that Imam Ali had stood and made these sermons, one of which completely omitted any letter with a dot in Arabic. Any Arabic letter with a dot, there's like, I don't know how many letters are there in the Arabic alphabet that have a dot. There's ba, ta, tha, and there's fa, qaf, noon. So there's quite a few that I can think of. I mean, I would have to look at the alphabet. I would have to have it in front of me to tell you. Just off the top of my head, yeah, there's at least 7. So imagine making a whole sermon, say if you were to do it in English, while the whole sermon where you talked about Allah, God, you talked about life, death, religion, what happens in the grave, believers, disbelievers. It was a sermon that went on for at least 10 minutes while omitting at least 7 letters from the English language completely from the whole sermon. Oh, sorry, that was the shorter one. It was at least 8 minutes, I think, long. Anyways, there was another sermon which I read to you yesterday which omitted the letter Alif, which is like the letter A in English, completely from the whole sermon, which lasted a little bit longer. It was like, I think that was like 13 minutes. So it was a 13-minute long sermon. Imagine you standing up there off the top of your head, making a whole speech without using the letter A. Anyways, that's Imam Ali for you. He was an absolute genius. Salam. So today, I'm just going to start maybe from sermon 1 for you. Like, I haven't decided if I'm going to do everything in order yet or not, or if I'm just going to pick ones that I like and do it kind of randomly for you. But today I'm just going to start from sermon 1, inshallah. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is from a sermon in which the commander of the faithful, Imam Ali, one second. Imam Ali mentions the genesis of the heavens and the earth, the creation of Adam, the Hajj, etc. It contains praising Allah, the creating of the universe and the angels, and selecting of the prophets. And the Quran. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All praise belongs to Allah, whose worth cannot be described by speakers, whose bounties cannot be computed by those who compute, and whose claim to obedience cannot be met by those who attempted to do so. The one whom the height of intellectual courage cannot sufficiently appreciate, and the depths of understanding cannot possibly reach. He is the one for describing whom no limit is laid down, no ample praise exists, no time is ordained, and no duration is fixed. He brought forth creation through his omnipotence, dispersed winds through his compassion, and firmed the shaking earth with rocks. The foremost in religion is to acknowledge him. The perfection, he's talking about Allah, obviously. So, yeah. The perfection of acknowledging him is to testify to him. The perfection of testifying to him is to believe in his oneness. The perfection of believing in his oneness is to regard him as the absolutely pure one. The perfection of his purity is to deny him attributes, because every attribute is a proof that it is different from that to which it is attributed, and everything to which something is attributed is different from the attribute itself. Thus, whoever attaches attributes to Allah recognizes his similitude. Whoever recognizes a similitude for him regards him as being two. Whoever regards him as being two recognizes the existence of parts for him. Whoever recognizes parts for him mistakes him. Whoever mistakes him points at him. Whoever points at him attributes limitations to him. And whoever attributes limitations to him numbers him. Whoever asks, "In what is he?" holds that he is contained, and whoever asks, "On what is he?" holds that he is not on something else. He is a being, but not through the phenomenon of coming into being. He exists, but not out of non-existence. He is with everything, but not in physical nearness. He is different from everything, but not in physical separation. He acts, but without connotation of movements and parts. He sees even when there is none to be looked at from among his creation. He is the only one, and only such that there is none with whom he may keep company or whom he may miss in absence. Now he's talking about Genesis. He initiated creation and commenced it originally, without undergoing a prior contemplation, without making use of any experiment, without inventing any movement, and without experiencing any mental aspiration. He allotted to all things terms, put together variations, gave them properties, and determined their features. He knew them before creating them, fully realizing their limits and confines, appreciated their propensities and intricacies. When the Almighty created the openings of the atmosphere, expanse of firmament, and strata of winds, he allowed water, the waves of which were stormy and the surges of which leaped one over the other, to flow into it. He loaded dashing winds and breaking typhoons, ordered them to shed it back as rain, gave the wind control over the rain's vigor, acquainting it with its limitations. The wind blew under it while water flowed furiously above it. Then the Almighty created wind and made its movement sterile, perpetuated its status, intensified its motion, and spread it far and wide. Then he ordered the wind to raise deep waters and intensify the ocean's waves. So the wind churned the water like the churning of curd, pushing it fiercely into the firmament, throwing its front status on the rear while the stationary status flowed till its level was raised and surface became full of foam. Then the Almighty raised the foam to the open wind and vast firmament, making from it the 7 heavens, skies, strata. He made the lower one as a stationary surge, the upper one as a protective ceiling, and high edifice without any pole to support it or nail to hold it together. Then he decorated them with stars, and with the meteor's light, and hung it in the shining sun, and effulgent moon under the revolving sky, moving the ceiling and rotating the firmament. It's quite beautiful. Okay. Then he created a crack between the high skies and filled it with all kinds of his angels. Some of them are in prostration, so they do not rise. Others are in kneeling positions, so they do not stand up. Some of them are ranked in an array, so they do not leave their stations. Others are extolling Allah without ever getting tired. The sleep of the eye, the slip of wit, the languor of the body, or the effect of forgetfulness does not affect them. Forgetfulness. Among them are those who work as trusted bearers of his message, thus serving as articulating tongues of his prophets. And there are those who carry his orders and commands. Among them are protectors of his creatures and guardians of the gates of the gardens of paradise. Among them are those whose steps are fixed on earth, but their necks protrude into the skies. Their limbs are out on all sides. Their shoulders are in accord with the columns of the divine throne. Their eyes are cast down before it. They have spread their wings down under it and have rendered between themselves and all others curtains of honor and screens of power. They do not think of their Creator through images, they by imagining him. They do not impute created attributes to him. They do not confine him within abodes and do not point at him through illustrations. Allah collected clay from hard, soft, sweet, and salty earth, which he moistened with water until it became pure. He kneaded it with moisture until it became gluey. From it he carved an image with curves, joints, limbs, and parts. He solidified it until it dried up for a fixed time and a known duration. Then he blew into it out of his spirit, whereupon it took the pattern of a human being with a mind that governed him, intelligence which he made use of, limbs that served him, organs that changed his status, sagacity that differentiates between right and wrong, tastes and smells, colors and species. He was a mixture of clays of different colors, cohesive materials, divergent contradictories, and differing properties, like heat, cold, softness, and hardness. Then Allah asked the angels to fulfill his promise with them and to accomplish the pledge of his injunction by acknowledging him, by prostrating to him, and submitting to his honored status. So Allah said to the angels, "Prostrate to Adam," so they prostrated, except Iblis, Satan. And then there's some Quran verses here: 2:34, 7:11, 17:61, 18:50, 20:116. If you want to check those. Arrogance withheld him, that was Satan he's talking about, and vice overcame him, taking pride in his being created of fire, looking down at the clay creation. So Allah granted him a respite in order to let him be worthy of incurring his wrath, to complete man's test and fulfill the promise which he had made to Satan. Thus he said, Allah said, verily you have been allowed time till the known day. So Quran chapter 15 verse 38 to 39 and chapter 38 verse 81. Thereafter, Allah placed Adam salam where he made his life and stay safe, cautioning him about Iblis and his animosity towards him. His enemy envied Adam's abiding in paradise and accompanying the virtuous. So he turned his conviction into wavering and resolve into weakness. Sorry, I'll read that sentence again. So he turned his conviction into wavering and resolve into weakness, thus turning his happiness into fear and prestige into shame. Then Allah offered Adam salam the chance to repent, taught him words of his mercy, promised him a return to his paradise, then sent him down to the place of trial and the procreation of his offspring. From Adam's offspring, Allah chose prophets and took their pledge for his revelation and for carrying out his message as their trust. Throughout the course of time, many people altered Allah's trust to them, ignoring his status and accepted associates with him. Satan turned them away from knowing Allah, keeping them away from worshipping him. Then Allah sent down his messengers as a series of prophets to people to get them to fulfill the pledges of his creation, to recall his bounties to them, to exhort them by preaching, to unveil before them the hidden virtues of wisdom, and to show them the signs of his omnipotence. Of these signs he demonstrated the sky which he raised over them, the earth that is placed beneath them, a means of livelihood to sustain, death that makes them no more, ailments that turn them old, and incidents that successively betake them. Allah never allowed his creation to remain without a prophet deputed by him, or a book sent down from him, or a binding argument or standing plea. These messengers were such that they did not feel few because of their number being small, or the number of those who belied them being big. Among them was either a predecessor who would name the one to succeed him, or a follower who was introduced by the predecessor. Okay, it's interesting. Yeah. So the prophets always, let me read that again. Among them was either a predecessor who would name the one to succeed him, or a follower who was introduced by the predecessor. Okay, meaning that of all the prophets who ever walked the earth, they all named or announced or appointed, I guess, their predecessor, as in the one who would protect the religion and guide the people after they were gone. They would always introduce someone as their successor. They never, ultimately, all protectors and guides of the religion were appointed by Allah. But of course, who brings the message? From Allah, from Allah's appointed, whoever Allah appoints to succeed the religion. Allah doesn't speak to everyone. The messenger has to bring the message to the people. So even though it's appointed by Allah, it's announced by the prophet as to who would lead the people in the religion after the prophet was gone. It was never decided upon, as in by an election, for example, among the people themselves. I'll leave you with that note, and I'm going to come back for part 2 to finish this sermon, inshallah. Stay tuned.